Hi, my name's Sarah and I work at Aligning Health, and we specialise in yoga and Ayurveda. And one of the things that we really like to focus on is keeping the two together and working out how in practice the two really support each other. So I teach programs in both yoga and Ayurveda, and we run a yoga and Ayurvedic retreat centre in Bendigo, just on the outskirts of Bendigo in central Victoria. So the first thing I'd like to do is talk about what is yoga. We all know what yoga is. If we look at the word yoga, we can put it from that Sanskrit understanding. We can say to yoke, to bind, to bring together. Yoga is really good for the mind, for the body, and for the spirit. But let's look a little bit further down. Yoga was traditionally taught from guru to disciple. And now we see modern yoga, we see this beautiful amalgamation of what yoga can be. We see yoga in gyms, we see yoga in schools, in airports. This is fantastic. It's really starting to branch out. Some of the components of yoga that we might see are asana, pranayama, meditation, chanting, pratyahara, yamas and niyamas, cleanses, mantras. And when we're seeing the modern yoga, some of this we might see in modern yoga classes. Some things we might see only little bits and elements. And it's funny when I'm teaching this, there's been lots of discussion about things like the goat yoga and beer yoga and things like that, and yoga in gyms. Whatever brings you to yoga is fantastic. So when you're looking at asana, if you're just coming from that physical and you're starting to connect with the physical, you are going to work with the breath. And then you can delve further and further into what the practice of yoga is. And there is something with yoga. When you start, it kind of just draws you in. And if you haven't been drawn in yet, find a teacher that draws you in. There's so many different styles of yoga. It's such a powerful practice. And what is Ayurveda? Ayurveda would be said to be the sister science of yoga. So we might look at Ayurveda as the body medicine, and then we could look at yoga as the spiritual practice. The word itself, Ayurveda, translates to life knowledge. And when you have the tools of Ayurveda, then you have the ability to be able to eat properly for yourself and to be able to put in proper lifestyle for yourself. And the whole idea that underlies Ayurveda is to keep the tissues in the body healthy, keep you functioning at a really good level. And this means that things that you might get in later life or can genetically predisposition to might not actually appear. So we're looking at Ayurveda as a preventative healthcare model. So some of the things that we talk about in Ayurveda, or if you come to me as an Ayurvedic practitioner, I will definitely talk about your diet, most definitely. Diet's one of the core stones of Ayurveda. What you put into your body, you become, or you want to digest to become. Our daily routine. So things that we do every day to keep ourselves in check, to keep ourselves in balance. And it changes, seasonal routine. So what we do in winter, we're not necessarily going to do in summer. Our yoga, talking about what style of yoga, what practice of yoga, what asana, what pranayama, what part of yoga is really good for you from a therapeutic perspective. We talk about herbs. I might give some herbal recommendations, lots of different formulations and ways to put herbs in your body, from things like kitchen pharmacy to more therapeutic herbal preparations. I've said diet. Talk about sometimes body therapies. So there are some amazing Ayurvedic body therapies, things like Abhyanga, which is an oily massage, Shirodhara, which is just bliss. This is the oil that moves on the forehead. So many more body therapies to keep the balance and also the mind in a good state, and things like psychology. So we look at what's going on with the energy around us. Are you looking from a state of inertia? Is there lots of movement and too much energy? Or are you more able to get to that space of mind that maybe we associate with sitting in meditation, but it carries through into our daily life? How do they work together? Okay, so they're both traditionally from India. So we're looking at two different sciences from India, right? But they do share the same fundamental principles for life. So we're looking at that idea of righteousness. We have this, this thing that we're born to do, if you like. For me, I really feel like I'm meant to share what Yoga and Ayurveda is. This is my purpose. This is what I'm meant to do. We have this idea of wealth. So we do need that accumulation. It might be the wealth through knowledge. It might be the wealth through materials such as money to be able to make this dharma happen. We have desires. We also have that karmic action. So we have that responses. And eventually, when we're looking for it together, we look towards moksha and salvation. So Ayurveda and yoga also have some of the same understandings of the mind. And I said before about sattva, rajas, and tamas. Now, in Ayurveda, it's suggested that the doshas, once you're born with it, that's what it is. And most people, if they come across Ayurveda, would hear about the doshas. That's vata, pitta, and kapha, right? So in vata, pitta, and kapha, there are 5 elements. We call these panchamabhutas, and they're the 5 great elements. So everything in the universe has these 5 great elements in them. And it's that ratio within us that is our natural constitution or our dosha. And this can move out of balance with diet and lifestyle. So that's what we're always trying to connect. Our natural constitution will not change. The state of balance might, but the natural constitution won't. We're born with this. The state of sattva, rajas, and tamas will change. And so we can move from a tamasic state, a heavy inertia state, if you like, to a more fiery state, inquiring state, lots of movement, rajasic state, to a state of bliss, to a state of awareness. And we can move back down. This we do have control over. And both yoga and Ayurveda can help us move up towards that more sattvic state through asana, through pranayam, through food that we eat, through lifestyle that we choose to live with. So when we look at Ayurveda, we have, like I said, the space, the air, the fire, water, and earth. And these are our 5 great elements, our panchamabhutas. And they have a purpose. They all have a purpose. They're all related to a sense organ, sense function, and they've all got particular qualities in them. So if we're looking at this from a yogic perspective, we can start to look at the different styles of yoga that are on the market today in this modern day of yoga. And we can see what is actually going on within me, what's going on with the seasons, and is it working for me right now? So if I'm really, really a lover of yin yoga and it's got those heavy, watery, earthy type qualities, have I already got that in me? And is that the best style of yoga for me? And we can look at the state of mind and go, where's my state of mind? And do I need to change my yoga, or is it the proper practice of yoga for me for right now? And sometimes it can be a little bit trickier because we don't always have the guru that's telling us and directing us where to go. So Ayurveda gives us that power of that self-knowledge. And we can look at it again from, if we're in fire, look at those words that work with fire. Think about the yoga practice that you're doing, the asana, the physical posture that you're drawn towards. Think about some of the cleanses that you're doing. Does it have a rough, dry approach, or is it more gentle if you've already got that within you, or if it's in a state of imbalance? And we can look at the top ones. So space and air being very vata type characteristics. So if there's lots of movement and there's lots of flow in your yoga practice, are you enjoying it then? Or is it continuing that flow? Or is it really working for you if you have those earthy water type qualities? This is the power of understanding Ayurveda with yoga. And so you can see there's a connection and then there's some similarities. So if we look up here, we might see that actually space and air and water and earth, they've all got cold within them. And so I might need a practice that's a little bit more warmth, or I might need to have a blanket over me, or I might like yoga that's in a little bit of a warmer room. So we can use our understanding of Ayurveda to extend our yoga practice even more. And so we can put this into a sun salute practice, if you like. So in the beginning, a person with earth and water, they want to lift the energy higher, maybe a few more back bends, and maybe the repetitions are a little bit quicker. For someone that already has that fire element within them, maybe there's a slight pause between each round. Or maybe it's that focus, that not looking at the person next to me, taking away that competitive element, or even that competitive element within myself, and just moving through, just feeling the practice, being at one with the practice. And then if we're looking at the idea of air and space, maybe it's a little bit slower. Or maybe even it's a seated sun salutation. So you're taking that power of Ayurveda and you're putting it into your sun salutation practice. And regardless of whether or not you're a teacher, you might just be able to go into a yoga practice, into a group class, and be able to translate this knowledge for you. And it is so empowering. So thank you for listening today, just to an overview of my passion with Yoga and Ayurveda. I teach nationally accredited training in Diploma of Ayurvedic Yoga Teaching, and I also run courses in Ayurveda and Ayurvedic Practitioner, and we have the most beautiful Yoga and Ayurvedic Retreat Centre in Axdale on the outskirts of Bendigo. Thank you. Be well, be safe, enjoy your practice of yoga.